Today on Political Access, we're going to talk about some of the recent updates over the past few weeks with some governors and Senate races, and we're going to start right here in North Carolina. Not a surprise, Mark Robinson, he's the lieutenant governor. He's throwing his head into the ring, and he is going to run for governor next year. In case you don't remember, incumbent Governor Roy Cooper, he is term limited out. He's the Democrat. Republicans do have a supermajority in the state legislature there, but I'm sure they want a little more breathing room. They want to capture that governor's mansion. And is Mark Robinson the guy to do it? Well, if you don't know a lot about Robinson, he's going to be considered controversial. He's a supporter of Donald Trump. He's outspoken. I'm sure a lot of past statements he's made are going to come out. He's going to have to address some of those things. He's going to have to try to pivot toward the center, at least somewhat, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I do think he has a lot of energy behind him. He's going to have to get through a primary. I think he would be the nominee. And of course, Mark Robinson is black, and that's the kind of thing I'm going to very minimally talk about, but I know that will become an issue as the campaign goes on. I know he's going to get some criticism for being a Republican, and that's not really supposed to line up with his racial background. I don't agree with that. I think anybody could come to any conclusions and have any views that they want, but maybe I'm wrong, maybe nobody will be talking about it, but we'll see what happens. And here's the Wikipedia page. There's not much that's updated on here. Josh Stein, he's the Attorney General for North Carolina. He's the only Democrat that has declared. I don't see anybody standing in his way. On the Republican side, Dale Folwell, he has also declared his candidacy. He's the state treasurer, but there's also one other wrinkle in this race. Mark Walker, he's a U.S. rep in North Carolina's 6th. The rumors are he may also launch a bid for governor. If he does, I still think Mark Robinson would be the favorite. It's a little bit early. We'll see what happens. Here's some outdated primary polling. Robinson, he's at about 60%. That's pretty overwhelming. But again, things can change. And as for the general election, the most recent poll here from early August, it's a PPP poll. It's very close. Robinson has a 2-point lead, 44-42. So this is going to be a high-profile race. I'm very interested to see what happens. Let's move on to West Virginia. And in that U.S. Senate race, it seems likely that Governor Jim Justice is going to run against Joe Manchin next year. Now, Joe Manchin has not even declared he's officially running, but you never know, he might decide it's too much of an uphill climb and he backs out. So this article talks about $1 million of support against Manchin, and if I was Joe Manchin, I would probably just call it a career. He's already in his mid-70s. He's won a lot of races in West Virginia, but the state has really moved way past Joe Manchin's era. Even if he does run again, I think he would lose. But if you're the Democrats, Joe Manchin is of course going to be your best bet to potentially hold that seat. If Manchin retires, then I think this is a safe Republican flip. So here's the Wikipedia page, and for the Democrats, it's either going to be Joe Manchin or there's really nobody else. Republicans do have Alex Mooney. He's a U.S. rep. He has declared his intention to run. And we have Jim Justice. He has the announcement pending. Evan Jenkins, he could run again. He ran in 18. There's a chance he gets into this race. For some reason, Jim Justice is supposed to be the strongest candidate. Maybe he is, but I would think the Republicans, they would want to go in a little bit different direction. Jim Justice, he used to be a Democrat not that long ago. He is highly wealthy, probably going to be out of touch and unrelatable for a lot of those West Virginia voters. And plus, he's already over 70 himself. Age doesn't really mean everything, but you might think that they want to go more than 4 years younger than Joe Manchin. Here's the primary polling. Jim Justice, he's clearly in the lead, but there's an opening here for someone like Alex Mooney. And in the general election, Jim Justice, he's beating Joe Manchin. If it's not Jim Justice, then it's going to be much more competitive, but I still think in the end, a year and a half from now, Joe Manchin, if he is the nominee, he would still lose. He squeaked by in the blue wave of 18. At this point, I don't really think there's really any saving Joe Manchin. It's not 100%, but I would say it's very likely Joe Manchin would lose, but I'm always open to being wrong. And we can move on to this news here in Maine. Senator Angus King, he's the independent. He caucuses with the Democrats. He's going to run for a third term, and this says here he will be 80 in 2 years, 86 at the end of a third term. He used to be the governor of Maine for 2 terms, so King is a well-known politician in Maine. I am a little bit surprised he's going to run again. Not completely shocked, but I thought there's a chance he might step down, given his age. But apparently he's going to run again. He could still change his mind. But if it is King, I think he's the strong favorite to win re-election. Here it is on Wikipedia. There's not much on here. It's Angus King, and then Jared Golden is a potential candidate. I think if King steps down, then it would be a golden opportunity, pun intended, for Golden to enter this race. Who do the Republicans put up? I don't think they really have anybody to put up. There's not even any potential candidates on this page. So it's going to be Angus King. Unless something crazy happens, he's going to win a third term. Next, let's go on to Wisconsin. And here's more not surprising at all news. Tammy Baldwin, incumbent Democrat, she's running for a third term. This was widely expected. I think she's the favorite to win, but it's Wisconsin. It's going to be competitive enough, at least to where the Republicans have to put up a serious candidate and make a serious effort. So you can read about that story here. There's not much to say about it. If you want to get on Wikipedia, here's the page here. I don't think anybody's going to challenge Tammy Baldwin. Republicans, that's going to be where all the question marks are. Two notable candidates have expressed interest, Mike Gallagher and Tom Tiffany. They're both current U.S. reps. Eric Hovde is also on here. He did run for the U.S. Senate in 2012. I remember that race. He finished in a close second place, so he might want to get in one more time. But outside of them, there's plenty of potential candidates on here. Rebecca Clayfish, Sean Duffy. Those are two that would probably have the best chance if they actually wanted to make a run for this seat. David Clark, I don't think he's going to run for this seat. Reince Priebus, I don't think he would run, and I don't think he would win. As far as the general election goes, there's not going to be any polling yet. It's far too early. These ratings here are lead D. I would agree with that. I think it's Baldwin's race to lose. If the national environment does swing toward the Republicans, then there's a legitimate chance they could pick this seat up. But for right now, I think it's probably even closer to likely than it would be to a toss-up. And the last thing we can talk about here, not a huge deal, but in Missouri, Jay Ashcroft, he's announced he's running for governor there. It's going to be an open seat. Incumbent Republican Mike Parson is term limited out. And Ashcroft, that's a household name in Missouri. I think he immediately would become the front runner. And you can read more about Ashcroft here. I haven't completely researched his background, but in a race like this, I think the name alone, barring any disqualifying news that comes out, is enough to make Ashcroft the favorite. And over here on Wikipedia, we do have some other candidates that have declared. Mike Kehoe is the lieutenant governor. If it wasn't for Ashcroft, it would seem like Kehoe would become the favorite eventually, but now that Ashcroft is in, we can see here in the polling, this is from last year, he's in the 40s to 50s range, so unless he completely implodes with some kind of major scandal, it's going to be tough to see how Ashcroft loses, and he would then be likely to win in the general election, because for the Democrats, there's not a whole lot going on there. It's early. They're definitely going to put up a candidate. They should always make a serious run for a race like this, because you never know, it could become another Kentucky or Louisiana, where it's a red state on paper, but at the state level, a conservative Democrat does pose a serious threat to winning that governor's mansion. So we'll see what happens with the Democrats, but the ratings here are all safe Republican. I would agree with that at this point. I think it would be very tough for the Democrats to win. They would need some kind of a superstar candidate, and I don't think they have it at this point. But that's a quick recap on some news across 5 different states over the past few weeks for governor and for Senate. There's no major bombshells, but now we can see how some of these races are starting to take shape early on. So let me know in the comments, do you have any thoughts about any of these 5 states? Or is there some other big news out there that I did not cover here? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I will see you on the next video.